Oseo.
Oseo.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Today we're in Japan, and I'm doing this in 2 consecutive sections or themes. And the very first is for Justice Ginsburg. Her spirit is still with us, and so we continue to embrace her so she'll stay around longer. And I'm going to start right off with a short waka. It's a Japanese poem, and this is by Empress Jito. She was between 645 and 702. The sudden appearance of cherry blossoms. Spring has passed, and it seems as if summer had come, and pure white cloth is spread to dry on the slopes of the heavenly perfume hill. Now, over here to this doll here, this is to represent Empress Jito. Ningyo no Koko, the doll of the Empress. So we'll stay over here and watch her. In Japan, the finite human body is the body of infinity. And that is why in Japan the costume is of the utmost metaphysical importance. The costume in Japan is already the beyond of the body. It is the very script of the ritual by which the visitation of anything and everything of the visible nature is incarnate in the human body. Hence, the brocade splendor, the myth of substitution, this brocade splendor of flowers, mountains, birds, everything of nature reproduced emphatically, thus significantly on the metaphysical textiles of the costume. Down below here, this is the dragon kami, Ryu or Tatsu. And he's a very major, I can say he's unisex, a unisex dragon. And he has a unique quality that can enter into the matrix of anybody whatsoever, any kami, without ever losing that quality that makes that dragon be that one which it is. And the attribute of the dragon is water. Now I have another poem. This poem is actually going to be Empress Jito. This is a ritual poem. These ritual poems were probably sung or chanted, and it is a form piece. And this is a ritual viewing of the land. That's what it is about. And here it is written in the third person by the court poet Hitomaro for Empress Jito. And it's in 2 parts. The second part in part of these forms is called an envoy, invenari, and that is the concluding remarks of the poem. So that's the way it goes. It's called hanka in Japanese. Poem by Hitomaro at the time of the imperial procession to the palace at Yoshino. Many are the lands under heaven and the sway of our Lord, sovereign of the earth's 8 corners, but among them her heart finds Yoshino good for its crystal river land. Among the mountains and on the blossom-strewn fields of Akitsu, she drives the firm pillars of her palace. And so the courtiers of the great palace, its ramparts thick with stone, line their boats to cross the morning river, race their boats across the evening river. Like this river, never ending, like these mountains, commanding ever greater heights, the palace by the surging rapids. Though I gaze on it, I never tire. The Envoy, Hanka. Like the eternal moss, slick by the Yoshino River, on which I do not tire to gaze, may I never cease to return and gaze on it again. Our Lord who rules in peace, a very God, Kamanagora, manifests her divine will and raises towering halls above the Yoshino Riverland, where the waters surge, and climbs to the top to view the land. On the mountains folding up around her, like a sheer hedge of green, the mountain gods present their offerings. They bring her blossoms in springtime to decorate her hair, and when autumn comes, they garland her with yellow flowers. And the gods by the river, Kawa no Kamimo, that run along the mountains, make offerings for her imperial feast. They send cormorants forth over the upper shoals. They cast dipper nets across the lower shoals. Mountain and river draw together to serve her. A god's reign, Kami no Mio Kamo, a very god, Kamo Nagara, whom mountain and river draw together to serve. She sets her boat to sail over pools where waters surge. The very early period of Japan, going back maybe into the prehistory, that country, Yamato in this case, is governed by women. Some of these women, especially the early ones, are referred to as shamanesses. So for quite a long period, it's not exactly a matriarchy. It didn't exactly get itself lined up that way, but the women were the sovereigns. They were the rulers. Eventually, some centuries later, they had something referred to as the patriarch's revolt, and then you see men becoming more prominent. But all this is definitely referring to that very early period of time of the women queens, empresses, or shamanesses. So all of that, and hail to the spirit of Justice Ginsburg there. Now with the second part here, I'm going to this. You can see this scroll painting here. In my long interest of Japan, this is an inference, it's just never been printed out, but I kind of find that there is something like saying two Japans, one inside the other, as it would be. You can get that idea here in the United States of America. That's an English nomination for Turtle Island. Turtle Island is, within it, and the people, the Native Americans of Turtle Island, know who we are, and the dominant culture allows it as long as the indigenous are ineffectual. So in Japan you have something similar to that. And what I'm introducing particular today is the celebration. This would be the harvest celebration at Izumo. Izumo is the shrine in western Japan that is the shrine of Okuni Nushi, or Daikoko. And in this, all of the kami of all the country converges here to Izumo. Meaning that in all the many shrines all over Japan, they're vacant of kami because they're all here. And in my display, I brought as many together as it would hold here. But let me go here to this figure, and that this is most interesting to me because my sense for this is that this painting, as I refer to it, has been made by one of the early or indigenous people of this country, Japan, like that. And up here, this script in the large letters is the name Okuni Nushi, and it also reads Daikoko. So it means the great Lord, King of the great land. So that's very telling. And very telling because the second character there is either a conservative or earlier character than that which had been used for after 1868 for everything imperial. That character is an earlier one, which suggests that this is all conservative. The paper itself doesn't look, really old, so it still is somebody very conservative in the view that this is who he is. So we can kind of refer to, there's a different, albeit subtle, lineage here. On the eastern part of Honshu is Ise, the shrine of Ise. And this is the capital and the source of the whole imperial line that is governing that country throughout and to today, and from which the government drew a mythology that gave it to think that it was going to somehow rule the world, and that was obviously fatal to that kind of thinking, as it turned out. So that's what I'm showing here, that this is a celebration of the harvest time for October. And so I think, and should I also say that Okuni Nushi is also paired with another person, a female. And here you can see that this mask up here, and she's referred to as like something like Okami, but who she really is that she is the sister of Okuni Nushi and his wife. And possibly the later era, because of this kind of incestuous insinuation in the myth, it's been kind of suppressed, through the later ages, including into the government. So he is the son of the brother of Amaterasu, the sun goddess. That's who he is. The brother was the one who blew his nose and created storms and storm kami. So that's who he is. And that he is indeed paired with this, I'm calling her Okami, her popular name. And what's happened is they are kami, or divinities. They have been made light of, so that they're kind of like happy gods, like that. That kind of overshadows considerably what their original and true function is. And pretty early on, the ruling government or imperial government kind of, softened very much on this shrine Izumu. Now here, this is a kamidan that I have, and inside of it, that is Okuni Nushi in there, and that is to represent the shrine that is taking place with all of this. Now you can drop all the way down, and here, this is a watermelon, and it's very timely. This has been organically grown by Richard Dickinson and freshly harvested for our harvest celebration, and it definitely belongs here as the farmer and the harvester is here with us. And then the next thing I want to show, this is the Hapiyuki, or Hapiyuko. This represents the 800 kami. And here's the Sakai, the sacred tree. So that's what this piece represents. Next to it here, this is Uma. This is a horse kami, but here it's used as a votive offering to the shrine. The style of it is the prehistoric, we call haniwa, like that. So it's very interesting. What it seems to be an offering for is rain. Somehow horses have something to do with rain. Bring more rain or slow down the rain. Next to it there, this is a little bottle of sake, and this was absolutely necessary if I expected, any of these kami to be present here, because they run on sake, and sake is rice wine, and that is the offering, standard offering for any shrine. And behind that, that's Inari. That's the fox. The fox here this fox is very significant during the harvest, and he's sitting on a melon that says Happy Harvest, very appropriately there. So he's necessary, for this celebration. Next to him, this is Tanuki. Tanuki is Japan's version of Coyote. He's a really an outrageous, very funny character. And next to this is the Furidama. This is the boat kami, holding in her hand the anchor kami as her symbol. And then let's go right up here. Let's go here to this white figure here. This is Tamayori Hime, and she is basically a protector for children. And she's holding her hat, buso, as her symbol of protection. So she's a Shinto being, Shinto deity. And next to it here, these all go together, this is a rock, Saika no Kami. This is a rock that's on the border of anything, hot, cold, male, female, fertile, infertile. It is a borderline kami figured in the form of a rock, and with it, the shameniwa, the straw rope, with the shirwa is the offerings. So that's what definitely identifies that. And here, going with that, this is a very old figure. It's called Jizo, or Butsu Jizo. And he seems to have everything to do with women's parturition, including taking care of unborn fetuses. And in Japan, his figure is very, very prolific. To see him everywhere. And so these all kind of go together with the same concerns for birth, children, and like that. Then here, we've seen this one before. This is Benten, Benzayatin, and she is the kami of Lake Biwa and the island there, Chikubu. And she's holding the biwa, which means lute, because the lake, Biwa, is in the shape of a lute. And after I did that, I discovered that Pyramid Lake in Nevada fits very neatly right into it. They have the same shape, and Pyramid Lake is a little bit smaller, so one fits in the other like a hand in a glove. There. Up here, if you can go up here, now this is the principal character in this little figure here as Daikoku or Koni Nushin. Both names are right. This can be said with either of those names. And so that's who is there. And these are male kami. And then here is another little figure for Okami, happy woman. But significantly here, this is the rice straw. And I'm showing this because this is what the rice looks like. This are the grains of rice. And freshly harvested grains of rice would also be figured in offerings to the kami at their shrine. And for that, I have a poem by Michael McClure, the wonderful, famous poet, writer, playwright, Michael McClure, and Richard Dixon, who brought the watermelon today, also wonderfully recently met Michael McClure at the City Lights bookstore and brought back an autographed book for me from him. This is his poem to go with all of this. Real as a forest stream at night, the sound pours through my ears. Old voices in strange languages with accents make light and dark the same. They slip them apart into different faces of the same things, which are not objects or coincidences. Let this be a lesson in the mirror. Streams flow to the waterfall, and turtles have good dreams sleeping in the mud. Though you will know by touching it with soft fingers, with fine fingernails, and in pictures, in bodies. Thank you, Michael McClure. And I know everybody likes it if I can find a Mary Oliver poem in these sessions. Come on in here. And so I do have one, because we are in October, and it seems to inspire a lot of people. Autumn and October in Chinese and Japanese is the most often season mentioned. So simply Mary Oliver, October. There is this shape, black as the entrance to a cave. A longing wells up in its throat like a blossom as it breathes slowly. What does the world mean to you if you cannot trust it to go on shining when you're not there? And there's a tree long fallen. Once the bees flew to it like a procession of messengers and filled it with honey. The shape climbs up out of the curled grass. It grunts into view. There is no measure for the confidence at the bottom of its eyes. There is no telling the suppleness of its shoulders as it turns and yawns. Near the fallen tree, something, a leaf snapped loose from the branch and fluttering down, tries to pull me into its trap of attention. It pulls me into its trap of attention, and when I turn again, the bear is gone. Look, hasn't my body already felt like the body of a flower? Look, I want to love this world as though it is the last chance I'm ever going to get to be alive and know it. Sometimes in late summer, I won't touch anything, not the flowers, not the blackberries brimming in the thickets. I won't drink from the pond. I won't name the birds or the trees. I won't even whisper my own name. One morning, the fox came down the hill, glittering and confident, and didn't see me. And I thought, so this is the world. It is beautiful. And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills like a million flowers on fire.